we have and take you through what we'll do to generate or do a conversion for existing customers. This is the Colmet facility in Rockwell, Texas. For those of you that have never visited, we certainly would like to have you visit it. We think it's a great show place. We have many of our products there in our training area. We house our corporate headquarters as well as the manufacturing for all of the Colmet products. Again, this is in Rockwell, Texas. So if you have the opportunity, please come and join us, or maybe join us for our distributor training in the fall there. When you look at the Colmet business, we have three main business segments. We have our core and catalog equipment, we have our engineered projects, and then we have our RP filtration products. Just to give a little bit better feel for what those consist of, the core and catalog is really a lot of standard products that includes batch ovens, spray booths, liquid or powder, and those booths can be in a variety of sizes. It could be anything from a small benchtop booth to a large booth that could accommodate, you know, a rail car. And so we have standard designs. As we look at more specialized applications, that's where we move projects into our engineered projects group. You know, here you can see a very large booth that we built for Kiewit. This is down the Gulf Coast. Also, within the engineered projects group, we also build stainless steel washers. You can see here a 3-stage and a 7-stage washer we have done for projects. And then in addition, we can also build smaller combinations of booths and elevated curing ovens, or what we would call a process oven. So these are all things that fall within the scope and capabilities of Colmet. And then really the third part is our RP filtration products. Colmet acquired RP in 2017, integrated it into the Rockwell facility where we now manufacture these filters. And then last year, and especially this year, we're really focusing on growing this business. Colmet really is the only spray booth manufacturer that also manufactures their own filters. And because we know and trust the quality of these filters, we can offer a 5-year warranty on our spray booth for customers that use these filters. And that also would extend to the air makeup unit. So we believe that's quite a value. So now we'll get into the actual presentation. Just looking at a quick overview, I'm going to talk to you about our new E-Light, which is Colmet's 2nd generation LED light. We'll look at some of the features and benefits, kind of walk through that. Then I'm just going to get into some lighting terminology, phrases that come up quite a bit as far as, you know, the temperature of the light and some other things. We'll take a look at those. And then we'll get into the LED conversion example. We'll talk about energy savings, how you calculate return on investment, and then some other benefits and considerations that you need to make as far as justifying maybe a upgrade LED. And then we'll do a quick review of a couple of incentives that we have around the LED lighting. And then Judy will just kind of do a wrap up with questions and answers. So starting in January of this year, Colmet had decided or made the decision that all of our spray booths, liquid or powder, are provided now with LED lighting. So we no longer offer the fluorescent lights that we used to offer, and we've now moved to our new E-Light. We have a lot of confidence in it, and like our spray booths, we offer a 5-year warranty on this light. This is our 2nd generation light. We feel that we took a lot of the feedback, the voice of the customer, and we integrated those modifications in this light to make a very robust and user-friendly product. We've reduced the size and overall weight of the light. And then in addition, we also have now a diffused light. When you look at the 1st generation light here pictured, you know, we had a clear glass cover on it. And because of that, you could see the actual LEDs. And we got feedback from customers that were, you know, typically processing Class A type finishes, that they didn't like seeing the reflected pixelation or the LEDs in that finish, because then they couldn't get a good read on, you know, whether the paint was wet or dry or the level of orange peel, because their eyes were drawn to these bright LED reflections. And so because of that, we diffused it. So that's one of the biggest changes. And some of the other modifications that we've made is that we've also gone to a fully enclosed unit. You can see here that this unit is completely closed. Here you can kind of see a side view of it. And so essentially it's non-repairable. If you would have any problem with this light within the 5-year period, we'll just replace the whole light. Also, when we talk about our E-Light or the lighting that we have, we talk about it being true LED technology. And that's because, you know, within that light, The reason it's small and light is we basically have the LED driver board and the LEDs. You know, some of our competitors, what they do is they take their old fluorescent fixtures and they take a fluorescent tube, or a tube, I should say, with LEDs in it, and install that in their light. So it's not true LED technologies. You still have a ballast in there, so you're not really getting the energy savings or all of the benefits of LED. Another thing about our new light is that it can be installed from inside or outside the booth. So basically you can see the mounting flange around the light. You can see it in the side view, which means that you can put this in from the back or from inside the booth. And for a retrofit, sometimes that can be a benefit to be able to install it from the inside. The other thing that we've done with the new light is, since it's a sealed unit, we no longer have a lens switch. The switch you can see here on our generation light, first generation light, was required because this had a removable lens. In order to meet code requirements, and you had to have that switch to interlock it with the spray booth, so that the booth couldn't be running if the light were open, because then, you know, it wouldn't be safe with regard to electrical poozles. So now we eliminated that switch, and because of that, you know, when you go to install these lights, especially on a new installation, now you don't have to have the wiring. It also eliminates where you could have nuisance strips if that magnet wasn't precisely on that reed switch, or sometimes vibration could cause issues. And if you have a booth with 1 or 2 lights, you can pretty much figure out the light that's the problem. But when you have a booth that has 100 lights, and now all of a sudden the interlock trips, you could spend a lot of time trying to hunt that down. Another thing that's eliminated is that when you take a light with removable lens, or that you can open from in the booth, per code, that also has to be caulked and sealed. And so pretty much now you've eliminated all that, the need for that. And so there's really a lot of benefits now to having a sealed light that if you have an issue, you just replace. The specifications for the light, we'll just do a quick overview. This is designed for 120 or 277 volt operation. It meets all of the requirements as far as ETL, NEC, NFPA, and OSHA. So it is designed for Class 1 Division 2, which is liquid booths, or Class 2 Division 2 powder booth installations. The light itself is constructed of 22 gauge steel, and it's a powder coated white. So again, it's a nice looking unit, very easy to install. Currently, we have both 4,000 and 8,000 lumen models available. These are direct replacements, once again, for ours or competitive fluorescent lights. We also have available in both these is a dimmable version, so that if you want to have the ability to dim the light, you can do that. So when you're doing a retrofit, if you want to incorporate the dimming feature, if it's a new project, we're going to have the control panel available to support that. If you're trying to retrofit dimmable lights into an existing installation, then we just have to do a little homework with you to make sure that, you know, they have the components there to properly use that dimming function. We do have available on YouTube a video which you can visit. We have Luke Downey, you can see in the picture, kind of giving a short overview on the light, showing you the physical light, and demonstrating the dimming feature. One of the things that we've learned with these webinars is we try not to do too much animation or videos, because based on the bandwidth and how many people are using this, they don't play well. So we didn't put it in here, but you can kind of see here in this picture, the light is at full energy. This is a 4K light, and then you can see here where it's dimmed down. But you get a much better feel for it if you tune in and see the YouTube video of this. Overall, when we look at LED lighting as compared to fluorescent, you know, really the big benefits are longer life and the vibrancy of the color. So you get better color rendering. We'll speak to that here in another slide. But typically, LEDs can last 50 to 100,000 hours. When you compare that to fluorescent, the life of those is 2,000, 10,000, and typically they start to degrade, you know, before that or within that time frame. The LED will hold its vibrancy much longer compared to fluorescent. And again, fluorescents just tend to deteriorate. You know, you see where they start flickering, or you start getting the dark edges appearing at the ends of the tube. So longer life with the LED really equates to reduced maintenance cost, or really lower total cost of ownership. The other thing about LEDs is they're much safer. Fluorescent tubes have to be disposed as hazardous waste due to the mercury content. And, really today, the disposal of fluorescent tubes really represents a large challenge for a lot of smaller manufacturers. There are people that offer services to pick those tubes up, but again, it's just another thing you have to deal with. Another thing, again, depending on who and where it's at, really, if you break a fluorescent tube, you're really supposed to do some type of remediation because you now have mercury that can cause, issues to personnel. So by going with LED, you move entirely away from those problems. So now to get into a little bit of the terminology, the first terminology or the first term that I wanted to bring up was temperature. A lot of times people will talk about the temperature of light, and that's measured in Kelvin. The scale is 1,000 to 10,000. So you can see here on the bottom, we're showing the full range of the scale. You can reference here that 1,000 is basically the color or, the vibrancy of a candle flame. And then at the far end, you basically have the clear blue day sky. When you look at the temperature of the E-lights that we're providing, it falls about right in the middle of the scale, around 5,500. Typically for commercial applications, you want something in the range of 2,000 to 6,500. You can see 2,000 looks kind of yellow, but if you think about a parking garage or a corridor that you're walking through, they kind of have those lower level, softer lights or in those areas. And then as you move into like retail stores or others, they tend to get brighter. But for typical commercial applications, you want to be in the range of 2,000, 6,500, and we are right at about 5,500. So again, sometimes that question comes up, whether it's from a distributor or an end user customer, they want to know what the temperature of the light is. Another term to look at is the CRI, or the color rendering index. So this is measured on a scale of 0 to 100, and basically what this is, it's an indication of how accurate a given light source is at rendering color when compared to a reference. So it's really, how vibrant does something look in the light? The higher the CIR rating, the better the color rendering. And so a good example to look at is the Apple test. I've discovered that this is the benchmark for CIR. So if you see at a level of 60, they look kind of dull and they don't look as vibrant. If you go all the way to 95, they look much brighter. And, if you're going to pick one of these, you'd probably pick one from this end just because they look better. Typical range for commercial applications is 70 to 85. And the CRI index for our E-light is around 82. The next term is intensity. And this is kind of an industry standard within spray finishing or spray booths is to have 100-foot candles of intensity at 3 feet above the floor. So foot candles is a really old term. I mean, if you break it down and you look at this diagram, it's essentially like having a birthday candle 1 foot from a wall, and then it would be the amount of light that it generated on the 1 square foot surface. We talk about lumens. We talk about having a 4,000 lumen and 8,000 lumen light. Well, the equivalent or the conversion is 1 foot candle equals 1 lumen. And then really the other term that you'll see with regards to intensity is lux. And this is more the international term, based on the metric system. And that has to do with looking at the amount of light dispersed over a square meter. So 1 foot candle equals 10.76 lux. But really what most people want is some reference to something you're familiar with. So if you look at the first chart here and you wanted to reference this maybe to something in your home, really your 2 brightest areas in the home are typically going to be around the kitchen stove or in your bathroom. And there you have about 70 to 80 foot candles. Now these readings are really at floor level. We're measuring at 3 feet above. So actually, this would be a little dimmer than what we would have in the spray booth. When you look at more commercial type applications, look at some different areas like a warehouse, typically you're going to have 10 to 50, an office 50 to 100, and so on. Again, retail stores, as I mentioned earlier, some of them are brighter if they want you to see what they have. Some might be dimmer if maybe it's a discount store. So it may vary. But with paint booths, again, the kind of the minimum for the level of lighting is 100-foot candles at 3 feet off the floor. It will range from 100 to 125, and there may be customers or applications where you want it even brighter, but that can certainly be done, and we're going to talk about some of those ways you can achieve that. The last term is just photometrics, and really photometrics is the science of light measurement in the terms of its perceived brightness to the human eye. So at Colmet, we can do some photometric studies, and we basically have two ways. We have the one basic way we can do it, which is kind of quick and down and dirty. And this would be an example here in the illustration to the right. So Tony Marino, he managed our inside sales team. He's working on a project now where we're looking at a large booth that's 250 foot long. And so right now he's trying to understand, what's the proper amount of lighting to get that level, that 100 foot candles at 3 foot off the floor. And so he can do a quick and dirty thing. Right now, this is kind of in the budget stage. But we also have more advanced tools that we can use as we get into more complex booth design. So another good example of that from Tony is right here. This is actually a new booth that we're building and going to install in our facility. This gives us the ability to do some liquid paint, plus we also use this for training in-house to be able to show our booths and the various products. So basically what Tony's working on right now is, hey, what's the best way to light this booth? Do we need lights in the ceilings? Can we put them in the hipped roof? Do we need them in the walls? Where should they be? Do we need 4,000 K or 4,000 lumen or 8,000 lumen? So by using this photometric tool, we can create that analysis and then look at different lighting levels and then look at hot spots or see how we can move them around and to get optimum illumination within the booth. And you can kind of see this plane that exists here. So that's that 3 foot area off the floor then that we analyze. So again, we have this technology. We don't do it on all projects. Again, we want to be able to do it for our facility booths so we can demonstrate this when you come in there for distributor training in the fall. And we also would do this on custom or much larger booths. For our standard booths, we've already done all the homework, and those are all pre-engineered. So let's get into retrofits. The new E-Light, as I mentioned earlier, smaller overall, and if you're going to retrofit this into an existing Colmet booth, you need an adapter plate. And so you can see here a picture of, again, our generation light, a generation 1 LED light, and then here's the new E-Light. And we basically have this adapter panel. Here's a drawing of it, which is 18 inches wide and 54.25 inches long. So if you want to retrofit Colmet light into an existing Colmet booth, we have this standard panel available. Again, it could be installed from inside or outside the booth. And again, based on where the booth is and the accessibility of the lights, that could be an advantage. If you have a competitive booth that you want to retrofit, then what we can do is build a custom panel. We just need to know the size of the opening or the size of the existing light. What's helpful is to get a picture or just a hand sketch. Basically a rectangle with some holes in it. So again, we can make retrofit panels for any booth. We even have some of our distributors that buy our lights and install them in competitive booths. They'll maybe order a competitive booth without lights and then order ours specifically to have them installed in there. So again, a lot of opportunity for retrofits or for light opportunities. Now here's a retrofit example. Josh Wyme, our regional sales manager, and I visited this customer last year in the fall. So this is a booth that was built in the 1980s. This is an older DeVilbiss booth. I have to say that for as old as this booth is, it was in excellent shape. Customers did a great job of maintaining it. The booth is 20 foot wide, 30 foot high, 110 foot long. Again, because of the age, they actually have T12 fluorescent light fixtures. These are 4 bulb fixtures, and if you look it up online, you can get the information. Each one draws 184 watts. So in total, there's 102 lights or 408 fluorescent tubes. Now looking at this picture, as you start looking at it, you can start seeing, like, all right, that light needs some maintenance. There's some bulbs burned out. That one's got a burnout tube. So you can see it's a lot of work to have to access these. And if you have 408 tubes, you've got to imagine that there's always a light that needs to be repaired or replaced. So what we did was we put together a calculator. So looking at their existing lighting, they're using T12 fluorescents. Each bulb draws 40 watts, 4 bulbs per fixture is 160. The ballast draws 24 watts. So that's where we get the total of 184 total watts per fixture. There's 102 fixtures. If you look at electrical costs, 13.3 cents is really the national average for the U.S. as far as cents per kilowatt hours. In this case, the customer runs 16 hours a day, and they use it 6 days a week. So for our proposed lighting, what we're looking at doing is doing a combination of 4,000 lumen and 8,000 lumen light. The 4,000 lumen light consumes 33 watts, the 8,000 65 watts. They have no ballast, so that's all the energy that's needed. So looking at just replacing all their fixtures, we're looking at going at 66 4,000 lumen lights for the side walls of the booth, and then 36 into the hip areas and the ceiling of the booth. So if we look at that, we calculate their current energy usage. They're using about $12,500 per year to illuminate that booth. Using the Coldmet E-Light, LED lights, their energy cost drops to $3,000. This is a tremendous reduction. It's a 76% reduction in energy usage. So they would be saving about $9,500 a year. When we look at a project and we talk about a return on investment, typically customers want to have an ROI of 2 years. Well, 2 years saving $9,000 is not going to pay for 102 LED lights. Now, there is some opportunity here that we could potentially eliminate the 12 or 14 lights that are in the flat ceiling of this booth. This is where we would go back and maybe do a study to look and see how that would impact it. The LED lights are more efficient. So when you're looking at 8,000 lumen, that's the actual output. You could say that one fluorescent light also puts out around 8,000 lumens, but they're only about 75% efficient. So you don't get the same amount of light. So often in a retrofit, there is the opportunity to eliminate light, but still, you're not going to be able to justify on the energy savings alone. So really, you need to look at other areas or benefits. Those are not always as easy to quantify. And so as we showed, there's a dramatic reduction in the amount of energy use. We saw 76% reduction. Reduced maintenance costs. Now, I tried to find some, cost of ownership for fluorescent light. It wasn't readily available. And so it's always hard to put a true number on this. But even as you saw in that picture, there's probably 4 or 5 lights in that booth that need to be serviced right now. When you have 408 tubes in a booth that size, you're always going to be changing bulbs, replacing ballast. So there is opportunity for reduced maintenance costs. You do get improved light quality with LED, and we talked about the temperature and vibrantness of the LED light, so there's benefits there. That might be hard to put a dollar value on. One of the other areas you can look at is heat, less heat production. So when you look at, standard fluorescent with ballast, you are putting more heat in the environment in that area. If you have a customer that has an air-conditioned facility, that could come into play. Again, a little harder to put your hand on. LEDs are green technology, so you can say, hey, you don't have to worry about the mercury in there, the toxicity of it. You don't have to worry about getting rid of the fluorescent bulbs. LEDs are virtually maintenance-free. Again, another thing you could try and quantify. For some customers, maybe this would be a reason. Some people don't condition their booths or their buildings, and so, fluorescent lights don't work well in cold temperatures. LEDs thrive and actually perform better when it's cold. So that could be maybe another indicator. And then really probably a bigger reason that would push some customers in the direction of LEDs is really when you look at global sustainability initiatives. When you look at all Fortune 500 companies, and even those that aren't, they all have some type of sustainability initiatives. They're trying to be responsible to their shareholders. So if you look at customers or companies like Herman Miller, Ford, Caterpillar, Magna, Walmart. Now you might say, well, Walmart's not a good example. What do they make? But the thing is, when these larger global companies take on these sustainability initiatives, they're accountable to their shareholders because they're making commitments saying, hey, we're going to reduce our emissions. We're going to have zero waste to landfill. We're going to manufacture more efficiently. They push this down to their supply chain as well. So again, although you can't maybe justify an LED upgrade for 102 lights in that rail car booth on the energy savings alone, sometimes it helps move the marker on the goal of becoming more sustainable and reducing the company's overall footprint. So that's also an area to look at and see if they have these type of programs, because that may be enough to help motivate them to make a change. As far as incentives, right now what we have, and I know that many of you are aware that we've tried to introduce a lot of incentives on our different products to help stimulate some business during this challenging time. Right now, the incentive that we have on our LED lighting is that we have some bulk purchase pricing. So we do have some additional discounts if you buy more than 25 lights or if you buy more than 50 lights. If you'd like some additional information on this, just email us at our marketing account, or you can reach out to your individual regional sales managers. Also want to let you know that we have a lot of information, a lot of content now as we've been doing these webinars. This webinar will be recorded and then put on our YouTube channel, but we've also been making educational videos. As I mentioned, you can see Luke Downing. Luke will give, I think this video is maybe 3.5 minutes, but Luke gives a quick overview of the light. You get to see the physical light. We do have a demo light available with a cord on it. If you want to get a light that you can carry around with you and take it to demonstrate to customers, to show them, how the light works and what the vibrancy and temperature of the light is. We also have a series of videos we just put up. Trey Peavy did a presentation on Tuesday. He's got another one coming up next week about filter installations and conversion. And so again, we have a variety of content. Would encourage you to go there and take a look at that. At this time, I'd like to see if anybody has any questions.
All right, John, thank you very much. But we do have some questions, but before I get to those, I just wanted to remind everybody again about the handout. Don't forget that the handout is on your control bar there. Please download that before you leave the webinar. John has some really good ROI information in there that will be helpful, I'm sure, as you go forward trying to estimate energy usage. So anyway, let's get going with questions now. John, will this light work in competitive booths?
Absolutely. Again, we have a smaller footprint, but what we can do is build a custom retrofit panel for you. So what we would need is just to know the dimensions, and if you can get it, the whole pattern of the existing light, and we can manufacture a panel that will allow you to easily physically install this into a competitive booth.
All right. Thank you, John. The next question is what is the weight of the light?
Okay, we did talk about this being smaller and lighter weight, and this light weighs approximately 20 pounds.
Oh, thank you. How do you replace the bulbs that are inside the actual light fixture?
Okay, so one of the things we talked about is that this is a true LED light, and it's a sealed unit. So within the light, you basically have a circuit board, your driver board, and then you have the actual diodes themselves. So there's really nothing to service. The light carries a 5-year warranty, so there's nothing that you can do to access or repair it. If you were to have an issue within the 5 years, you just return it and we'll send you a new light.
All right. And let's see, we have one more question here is what's the difference between this LED light and retrofitting LED tubes into a fixture?
Okay, so that's a good question. Again, when we talk about the Colemet E-Light, we talk about it being a true LED. So again, there's no ballast in it. When you look at some of the competitive LED solutions out there, they basically take a glass tube that has LEDs and they install it into the existing fluorescent fixture. So you're still using a ballast, and so you're really not getting the full benefits of LED based on energy savings.
All right, thank you, John. I think that's all the questions. So before we log off, if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide, please, John. I just have a few slides I want to share with the individuals on the call. Again, this is the Comet Who to Call list. On the right-hand side of the slide, you'll see the map, and it calls out who the RSM is for your territory. And on the left, of course, will be the regional sales manager with their contact information in case you needed to get in touch with them. The next slide here, John mentioned a lot of different tools that we have at Comet. Most of these tools can be found on the Comet website, cometsb.com. If there is something you need that you don't find on the website, please feel free to email marketing@cometsb.com, and we will make sure that we get you the information that you need. One more slide, please, John. This is a list, as we stated at the beginning of the webinar. These are the last two webinars we've scheduled at this time, the exhaust filtration cost savings, and then the batch oven optimization. So please sign up for those if you did not. And then one more slide here is this is the Comet YouTube channel, as John mentioned. All the videos are being posted there. It's a great resource tool. If you have a change in some of your personnel, it's a good starting tool to send them to the site, have them review a lot of these different videos, and it just keeps growing as we do these webinars. I think we may have, looking to see, I thought I saw a hand go up that we might have another question, but I think we're good. I think that's all we have right now. Thank you everybody for joining us. We appreciate your time today. And again, if you haven't signed up for the other webinars, we look forward to you signing up so we can share our information with you.
Thank you.
This will conclude our webinar for today. Thank you.